and the night our smart speaker told on us. The first night the speaker talked back to me, it wasn't about the weather. I had just moved into a glass box of an apartment that pretended to be a home, steel, pale wood, the kind of kitchen where knives look decorative. My fiancée, Ava, wanted clean lines and quiet luxury. I wanted walls that didn't echo. We compromised by buying a smart speaker shaped like a snow-white stone and calling it Mara because Ava said a human name makes tech feel less creepy. Mara, I asked, half mocking, what's on my calendar tomorrow? A soft, agreeable voice listed meetings I'd moved twice and a dinner I hadn't agreed to. 7:30 p.m., tasting menu at El Arch, 2 guests. That's not mine, I said. Ava, barefoot on the couch, reached for the remote without looking up. It's a surprise, she said, and muted a show where people apologized expensively. You're allowed to be happy, Theo. I'm a cybersecurity consultant by trade. It means my living is made by catching shadows that don't know they're visible. It also means I loathe surprises unless I plan them. I let it go, because you pick your battles if you plan to marry someone who believes anything can be elevated, including bananas. Our neighbor across the hall introduced herself the day the building smelled like lemon and new money. She wore a camera like jewelry and said, I'm Sira. I photograph people who don't know they're interesting yet. She had a smile that landed like a dare and a key ring heavy with places I'd never been. I liked her immediately in the way you're not supposed to like your neighbor when you're engaged. We're the ones with the white stone that answers to Mara, I said. She peered past me at the speaker on our credenza and wrinkled her nose. I don't let the furniture listen to me, she said. I'd rather take my chances with people. I laughed. I spend my days convincing people their furniture is already listening. That night when Ava went out for a fitting, I told myself I wasn't thinking about Sira's mouth when I asked the speaker for music. It gave me a playlist that sounded like a hotel trying to seduce itself. I poured a drink and worked through 3 client proposals, deleting adjectives until only verbs survived. At midnight my phone buzzed an alert, new audio clip in archive. The smart home ecosystem I'd foolishly agreed to didn't just help, it logged. I opened the app to clear the notification and saw a clip recorded 20 minutes earlier while I'd been in the shower. It had tagged the voices, mine, Ava's, unknown male. I didn't press play. Cybersecurity isn't bravery, it's habit. You build rules for yourself. You follow protocols when your stomach wants fireworks. I made tea I didn't want and waited until the cup was cool enough to hold without flinching. Then I listened. Ava's voice, low and amused. He thinks Elarch is my surprise. Male voice closer, laughing softly. You always were a good storyteller. Shut up, she whispered, and I could hear that smiling shape mouths make when they're about to press against something that isn't a word. There was no graphic proof, just intimacy with its shoes off. Soon, the man asked, after the launch. Yes, Ava breathed, as long as he doesn't. The clip ended the way all accidental recordings do, messily, like a door closing too quietly. The app named the unknown male voice possible match, Liam. It had scraped my contact list. Liam was my business partner, which would have been funny if betrayal were a genre. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't smash the white stone. I didn't even wake her when she came in later and set her perfume down like a third body. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling where the smoke detector blinked a red eye every 30 seconds in case I forgot about it. When sleep came, it brought a dream where my cupboards were empty except for notes that read, "You knew." In the morning, the speaker chirped good news and told us the day would be unseasonably warm. Ava kissed my shoulder like a punctuation mark and said, Don't be late tonight. Her dress was the color of champagne before it decides to bubble. At my office, Liam was the same blend of charm and math he'd been since we were 22. White shirt sleeves folded with an effortlessness that had taken practice, smile like a climbing hold. "You look funereal," he said. "We closing the Morrow contract or burying it?" "Both," I said. "Either." He smiled wider. "Ava sent me a thing about seating charts for the engagement party. I said put me far away from the bar. She put me next to it." "She likes to watch you say no to what you want," I said. He blinked. Something behind his eyes flinched. Then he pivoted into budgets because that's what we do when feelings look like a fire alarm. By late afternoon, my calm felt counterfeit. I called Sierra under the pretense of asking if her Wi-Fi had been weird. "Someone piggybacking on the network?" I asked. She said, "If you're looking for an excuse to stand in my doorway, try flowers." I knocked at 6 with coffee instead. Her apartment smelled nothing like lemon or money. It smelled like bergamot and film, the ghost of chemicals from another era. On the wall were portraits of strangers who looked as if they were remembering something important. She took the coffee and sat on the counter as if kitchens were for perching. "What's actually wrong?" she asked. "You ever had a machine tell you what you already knew?" I said. "All the time," she said. "Cameras are tiny therapists. They let you be seen by something that won't talk back. Then you have to deal with the seeing." "What if the seeing belongs to someone else?" I asked. "Whose?" she said. "My house," I said. "My fiancé, a voice that sounds like my business partner. A restaurant I'm supposed to be surprised by." Sierra whistled low. "What do you want from me, Theo?" I looked at her mouth and wondered what I was capable of. "Advice," I said, "before I do something clever and cruel." She studied me like I was a negative she could develop. "There's clever that breaks a thing and clever that reveals it," she said. "Choose your genre." At 7:30, I presented the white stone with a halo of apology and took Ava to El Arch. It was the kind of place that believed in copper and quiet. The tasting menu was a procession of small, perfect lies. I nodded as a server described a carrot as if it had written a novel. Ava smiled with both corners, eyes bright. She was beautiful, and in the particular way beauty becomes untrustworthy when you've just read its footnotes. In the middle of course 4, my phone buzzed again. New audio clip in archive. My bones cooled. I didn't open it. Instead, I said, "Tell me one true thing about us." She tilted her head, amused. "We share a hatred of cilantro." "Not enough," I said, softer. She looked down at her lap where her hand rested like a bird that doesn't trust the glove. "We want the same kind of future," she said, "and we're both afraid it'll be as boring as it looks." Honesty, sharp and small. I almost loved her again for that. After dessert, we walked home through a city that had the decency to be pretty about it. In the elevator, she leaned into me with the weight of someone who plans to sleep. In the hall, Sierra's door opened as if she'd heard us arrive. She wore a sweatshirt and lipstick and held a camera like a question. "Borrow Theo?" she asked Ava. "For 5 minutes. A light on my balcony is doing a thing." Ava laughed, kissed my cheek, performed a stretch of trust. "Bring him back." Sierra's balcony was 2 doors of glass and a set of plants that looked too alive for this rumor of a building. She closed the door behind us and said, "Do it fast." I tapped my phone. The app expanded, the clip weighted with its gray triangle like the world's oldest play button. "If I press it," I said, "it doesn't just play for me. It plays for whoever listening," she said. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "Because I like you a little," she said, "and because I hate bullies who use intimacy as currency." And because you don't let furniture listen to you, I said. That too, she said, and then very softly, Theo, don't aim to humiliate. Aim to clarify. I pressed play. Don't, Ava's voice said on the speaker in our living room, just audible through the wall. Then laughter. Then Liam, unmistakable. I never know if you're daring me or warning me. Both, she said. There was no explicit, no gasp, no skin sound, just the way two people make architecture out of breath. We stood on the balcony and listened to my life become precisely what I'd suspected. Sierra put a warm hand between my shoulder blades. I didn't cry, which surprised me. I wanted to kick the glass until it told the truth more loudly. I wanted to be better than wanting that. Take a walk, Sierra said, or do it now. I did it now. I went back into my apartment. Ava looked up from her phone like an actress waiting for her cue. Everything okay? She asked, and my speaker, the compliant stone on the credenza, blinked politely. I said, Mara, play last recording. It did. It filled the room with voices we both recognized. Ava's mouth didn't open or close. It learned stillness. When it ended, she said very quietly, you were in the shower. The steam woke it. What woke you? I said. She stared at our floor as if it had invited her to dance. He was just. He was, I said, and then you were together. A silence followed that was not empty. It was thick with negotiation. After a minute, she stood and walked to the window where the city was pretending to be a backdrop. You wanted clarity, she said. There it is. What I want, I said, isn't a confession, it's a choice. She turned, the dress she'd chosen for me catching the light like forgiveness. You and Liam always make everything an equation, she said. But I don't live by math. I live by weather. And lately the forecast is a storm that looks like expectation. Behind her, the speaker glowed like an obedient moon. I wanted to throw it and I wanted to thank it. Then pick a coat, I said, because it's raining. She half laughed, wiped her cheek, nodded like someone conceding a point in a debate she'd been winning until she noticed the audience. I'll stay with Maya tonight, she said. Not a friend, her older sister who had learned to like me the way nurses learn to like painkillers. We'll talk tomorrow. You and me, I said. You and your partner, she said. And when she went to the bedroom to pack a bag, she didn't slam anything, which felt worse. I sat on the couch and wanted to disappear. Instead, I texted Liam a single sentence. We're not partners anymore. He sent back a line I could hear his voice saying, we can explain, and I put my phone face down like a bad pet. A soft knock came from the hall, 2 beats, then 3. It wasn't a neighbor's complaint. It was Sierra's rhythm. I opened the door and she stepped in, hair pulled back, eyes careful. I shouldn't, she said. You should, I said, and we stood very close without touching the way people do when the line between right and wrong is bright and thin. She smelled like oranges and film again. I'm not a consolation prize, she said. I know, I said, I'm not shopping. She smiled. Good, because I won't be bagged. We sat on the floor by the window the way adolescents do when furniture feels like a statement. I told her about Liam and Ava and the mistake of nomming a stone like a person. She told me about a marriage that had taught her to distrust men who apologized in the passive voice. We didn't kiss. We let our knees touch. The intimacy was warmer than any revenge. What's your plan? She asked. Clever, not cruel, I said. Clarify, not burn. Then write it, she said, nudging my knee with hers. You're a man who trusts words on screens. At 2 a.m., I sent over an email that wasn't a weapon. I wrote, we both built an image of a life and then tried to live up to the photograph. I can't be in a picture that makes anyone small. I'm not punishing you. I'm stopping. I CC'd no one. I BCC'd nothing. I slept for 2 hours and dreamed of a river swallowing a white stone that didn't struggle. In the morning, I wrote Liam a 6-line termination clause and an 11th line about trust. He replied with legalese and an invitation to discuss. I declined. He sent a paragraph about passion complicated by proximity. I set my phone on the speaker and said, "Mara, read message," and the soft, agreeable voice robbed his apology of its swagger. Later, when the day had softened into that metallic late afternoon where the city turns to mirrors, Sierra texted, "Roof." We met under a sky pretending to be serious. The rooftop garden was an advertisement for succulents. She handed me a mug of something too strong. "I looked up your company," she said. "You're good at catching shadows." "Doesn't help much when the shadow is your own," I said. She bumped my shoulder. "That's the only one worth catching." We didn't talk about Ava for a while. We talked about Sierra's portraits, about how she waits for the exact second when a person stops pretending to be the person they think they are. "There's a breath," she said. "You can hear it, that's the shot." She lifted her camera, framed my face, didn't click. "Not yet," she said. "You're still posing." "Maybe always," I said. "Not always," she said. "You just haven't heard the breath." When the light went gold, she lowered the camera and looked at me in a way that made my spine remember it was attached to a heart. We moved closer the way people move toward fireplaces. I touched her wrist. She turned her hand and laced our fingers. It was simple and enormous. When we kissed, it wasn't graphic, it was specific. The angle, the inhale, the way her mouth learned mine like a route she already knew from a map. We stopped before more, because stopping felt like mastery instead of fear. Downstairs, the white stone waited. I unplugged it, wrapped the cord, and put it in a drawer like a guest you finally asked to leave. "Mara," I said to no one, "thank you." Then I picked up a pen and wrote on an actual piece of paper, "Listen to people." I taped it inside the cupboard where we keep glasses we barely use. A week later, Ava came for the last box. We stood 2 meters apart, adults dividing a past. She looked different in the way people look when they decide to inhabit their faces. "I'm sorry," she said, and it sounded like a present tense. "I know," I said, and it wasn't magnanimous. It was true. "Did you keep the speaker?" she asked, half smiling. "No," I said, "I kept the lesson." She nodded, and when she left, the apartment felt emptier in a way that was almost relief. That night, Sierra came over with takeout and a movie that didn't demand anything. We ate on the floor again because the table still felt like a closing argument. When the credits rolled, she curled against me and said, "Breathe." I did. The sound arrived like honesty. She lifted her camera, clicked once, looked at the screen, and showed me a photo where I looked exactly like myself for the first time in months. "There," she said, "that's you." I kissed her hair and said, "Keep that one, if I forget." "I'll remind you," she said. "I'm better than a speaker." Weeks later, when the city reigned with purpose, we passed L-Arch and I didn't flinch. My phone buzzed with a new client, not a confession. We went home and cooked something we would actually eat. The apartment still had steel and pale wood, but the echo was softer. We opened the balcony doors and let the evening in. When Sierra laughed, the room believed her. When I asked what tomorrow looked like, she said, "Not quiet luxury, just us." I didn't need a machine to tell me the forecast. I had a woman with a camera and a mouth that tasted like now. We stood there for a long time, listening to nothing but the rain and our own breath, and I thought, the only voices worth archiving are the ones we choose to keep.